Welcome to Mommy Needs a Minute. I am your host, Kaitlin Morris. I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, and a fellow woman learning how to navigate this beautiful collision of both motherhood and ambition. Now, this is not your space for perfect answers. This is going to be a space for honest conversations, for quiet reflections, and for gentle reminders that you are allowed to take a breath. You are allowed to reclaim your rhythm and to show up as your full self, even in the middle of the chaos. So go ahead, pour yourself a cup of coffee. We're going to take a nice, big, deep breath, and let's take this minute together. Today, we are going to talk about those times when your ambition feels bigger than your time. I feel like as moms, we are all going to relate really heavily to this one, where throughout the day, we are going to have multiple times where the things that we want to do versus the things we are actually capable of getting done are going to a lot of times not align. I feel this frustration on so many occasions throughout the day where I have certain tasks or certain things that I need to be getting done or pushing towards or trying to get ahead on or making big moves on. And oftentimes those thoughts and those desires, they get pushed to the side because we get pulled into that side of responsibilities and tasks that have to get done for our family, things that need done for the kids. And we'll find ourselves really tucking aside our ambitions, our dreams, our goals. And I am not saying that parenting takes us away from that. I am saying that we, as mothers, myself included, we can often just be quick to put aside the things that we need to continue to be pushing towards. We deserve to find ways to take time for ourselves also, right in the middle of the chaos. How do we blend everything so that we are still able to give our full attention and give our best, the best of ourselves to our family, but also continue to pursue our dreams and pursue our goals and really push in the direction of where we want to go. And one big thing, so let's break down ambitions here. I'm going to take a quick drink of my coffee. I told you all to grab your cup. I hope you did. Let's break down this concept of ambitions. So ambitions are like our goals. What are we set on? What are we dreaming of? What are we wanting to get to? And in order to even take time on this, we first have to know, what is it that we want? What is my definition of a perfect day? How will I wake up? How will those first couple hours go? How will those hours through lunch go? How will the end of the day go? What is that perfect blend? How do I blend all the pieces of my current puzzle with the best outcomes possible? How do I fill this space with joy and still get through these tasks and still fulfill my dreams? And this is so much to juggle. In 5 years, let's focus on, where do you want your accomplishments to be other than being a mom? That's already a massive one. So if just being the best mom possible is where you want to be in 5 years, you know, that you are just thriving, you're making time for your hobbies, you're making time for things that fill you with joy, you're making time for self-care, and you are still maintaining this full-time mom life, just crushing it. That's a great goal. No, I know me personally, I have room to improve in order to feel like I am just crushing it as a mom. I don't know if I'm ever going to get that feeling, but the goal is that I just keep trying harder every day, striving for that, full knowing that we will likely never achieve it. But in that sense, the effort that we put into it is what makes that worthwhile. But first, defining, what is it that we are even working towards? What is our goal? You know, what do we want to be doing in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And there's so many different ways to define these goals. Do you want to be in your best active shape possible in 15 years so that you can continue to play with your kids, or if it's grandkids by then, whatever that situation might be in 15 years, what do you want to be able to do? What do you want your day to look like? What do you want your routine to look like, and how can we start to make small steps today to work towards that. And this is a forever practice for me. I feel like I have to revisit this almost quarterly throughout the year of, okay, what exactly am I working towards? Have any of my goals shifted? Have any of my 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plans, have I made any changes to how I want these to go? And have I even taken the time to really know where I want them to go? Have I sat down and sat with those goals, sat with those plans, and thought about not only where do I want my family to be throughout that progression, but also where do I want myself as an individual? As moms, it is our job to also make sure we are maintaining our personal goals, our personal ambitions, our personal dreams. Are we taking time to weave that into the flow so that we don't put ourselves too far aside? One example from my own world would be this podcast. This podcast has been a dream of mine for quite some time now, of finding a community of like-minded women who are also going through a lot of the same challenges that I am. And I think that's most of us, of figuring out this blend of motherhood and ambition, chasing our goals and chasing our dreams. And a big hurdle for me is I can so easily right now tell myself that I don't have time for this, that I do not have time to make this happen. But I absolutely refuse to do that. I am so headstrong on this, and you guys can all hold me accountable. So if I fall off, you're going to know why. It's myself that got in the way. But I am so determined to make this happen because this aligns with my long-term goals. This is also something that I can creatively try to weave into my schedule. Some of the ways that I have worked on weaving this into my own schedule is finding a few tiny pockets of time each week. Where can I possibly wiggle in something new and something that's just for me? And currently, with 2 under the age of 3, the only pocket of time that honestly truly works, like no distractions, no interruptions, is oftentimes from 8:30 at night until 10:30 at night. That is not my prime working time. When I want to be working, I don't choose 8:30 at night. But in this current phase of life, in this current place where I am, this is one way that I can weave my dreams and my goals into the mix without throwing anything else off. And I only need to do this one night per week. So I'm not talking about every night. For me personally, I have to make sure that these lanes that I'm going down towards my own dreams, I want them to be manageable as well. And sometimes we have to set boundaries of what is manageable and what will still get me that feeling of feeling like I'm pushing in the right direction, but not be pushing myself too far. And for me, that boiled down to, okay, I can find 2 hours a week. I can find a pocket where it's just 2 hours of time, and I can repeat that on a schedule. The second piece is I had to make manageable goals for the marketing behind this podcast. No one's going to find your podcast or listen to your podcast unless you talk about your podcast. But when it comes to social media, I run social media accounts. I manage social media accounts for a living right now. I know very well how much work goes into marketing, how much work goes into promoting, how much work goes into building a strategy, a system, all the things with digital marketing. So how can I make that manageable for my podcast so that I still get to reach towards my goals, but I'm not overreaching and taking up too much time where I can't work on my actual job, or too much time where I can't actually provide and take care for my family. I can't sacrifice those things. I cut it down so that I'm only spending 1 hour per week on any marketing for the podcast. Now, this will often mean that my marketing will not be the best of my ability. I'm very good at marketing, but I also know that I have to value my time, and I have to be very, very specific of where that time can go so that I don't feel behind with the rest of my life. Because when we're pushing towards our dreams, we don't want it to interfere with how we feel about all the other tasks we already have to get done. I try and find a way to weave it into my schedule, what is manageable. In my situation, I need to do it repeatedly on a weekly basis. So it gets me into a rhythm, it gets me into a system of continually pushing towards my goals. I can't miss one single week or I will be behind. And personally, I like having that accountability. I like making sure that something is pushing directly towards something that I want. I want to build this community of like-minded women so that as my children and as my family continues to go through different stages, that this community doesn't get pushed aside. We often make that excuse of like, oh, I'll do it when I get time for it. Well, we're never going to get time for it. Every phase of being in motherhood is always going to have a million things going on, and we are going to so easily put this aside. So my biggest reminder for all of you today is you are allowed to want more. You are allowed to pursue more. You are allowed to push towards more. This is all something that is totally fine for us to do throughout motherhood, to continue to push towards our goals and our dreams. Now that leads me right into our action steps for this week. We are going to either take time to journal or take time to talk to a friend or call up your mom and have that conversation that you've been needing to have with her anyways. And some things that we're going to work through in whatever way you want to is, what dream am I afraid to admit that I want? So I want you to spend time thinking about that. What dreams are you afraid to admit that you want? Our second one for this week is, what tiny step could move me forward right now? So I'm going to say that one more time. What tiny step could move me forward right now? And those are the two that I'm going to leave you on this week. Thank you for sharing this moment with me here on Mommy Needs a Minute. If today's episode gave you something to think about, something to feel, or something just to gently carry into your own life, I would love it if you shared it with a friend or if you left a quick review. Now remember, you are not alone in this. You are becoming. You are allowed to take your time, and you are doing so much better than you think. Until next time, take one big deep breath, one small step, and I'll meet you here again real soon.